record. We'll record it.
So what time are you dancing?
I think they're gonna do it several times during the evening, so I don't think we really know. So I think it's sometime between 5:30 and 8:30.
Okay.
Down at Jump outside.
It's outside with a whole bunch of people that want candy.
They want candy.
Well, see, after you watch them dance, we give them a whole bunch of candy. Simplot just
Keeps sweet and hot for your audience.
just keeps them.
Okay, Dan, do you want anything besides Mishmira?
Okay, now do you want to be next to the? Do you want to be next to this, or do you want to be closer to the pole? You want to be over here, or top? You want to be over here?
Yeah.
I also threw in Maple Mocha in Colorado, which is the customary old one.
Right.
I don't know.
We'll put the socks.
That's gonna be
This Maple Mocha is the guideline.
That's right. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Our first really feels like fall. It's not the year. We're going to begin with Yeshmerah Shabbat. This is the what? I never can remember.
61.
Okay.
And we do just the first verse.
Okay. First verse is 61 in the red book.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Soul, for the body, for the gifts of being awake and alive on this new day, page 99, the beginning of your Parashat, our blessings to greet for the morning. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. 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 Ata virata, ata yizarta, ata nefata bi, ata mishamra bekirbi. Elohai neshama shematatavi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shematatavi tehorahi. Ve'ata atid bila mimeni uhapsira bimani lavo. Ozman shama bekirbi Bodhani lefanecha Adonai Elohai Elohei Adonai Ribon kol ha'ma'asim adon kol ha'neshamot Elohai neshama shenatatavi tehorahi Elohai neshama shenatatavi tehorahi. Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir neshamot v'sgarim meitim. Baruch atah Adonai
I have yellow.
So are you God's sovereign time and space who created the human body with wisdom? Baruch atah Adonai rofacho basar umachli la'asot. Giver of all flesh who creates wondrously. Page 103.
Little.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan oseh bina l'havkin bein yom uvein layla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Shasani ben Salmo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Shasani ben Korim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Shasani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. V'hokei Atirim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Ma'avi Sharunim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Mahatir Asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. V'hokei Kefufim. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam. Roch ha'aretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamechin mitzadei gaber. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Shasali kol tzorki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Ozer Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Adonai layadei koach. היום ובכל יום וכן לחסד רחמים מנחם קורבנו ותיקוננו חסדים טובים. ברוך אתה אדוני גומל חסדים טובים לעמו ישראל. 107. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, the bottom of 107. These are the deeds that yield immediate fruit and continue to yield fruit in time to come. Honoring parents, performing deeds of kindness and love, attending the house of study morning and evening, providing hospitality, visiting the sick, helping the needy bride, attending the dead, probing the meaning of prayer, making peace between one person and another and between loving partners. And go back and negate kulam. The study of Torah is the most basic of them all. Page 122. Baruch Shamar Hayalam Baruch Baruch Shamar Hayalam Baruch Baruch Hosei Bereshit Baruch Omer Yosef Baruch Hosei Rukayim Baruch Merachem Haaretz Baruch Merachem Habriot Baruch Shamar Hayalam Baruch Baruch Shamar Hayalam Baruch Baruch Mishalem Zachar Tov Mishalem Zachar Tov L'Re'av Baruch Halan Dekayam L'Netzach Baruch Bodehu Matzil Baruch Shemo Baruch Shamar Hayalam Baruch Baruch Shamar Hayalam Baruch. Sing to the one who gives life to the world, sovereign, praised and glorified forever and ever. This is your great name. Baruch atah Adonai, melech me'ulal v'tishbachol. Page 134. Psalm for the Shabbat day. Mizmor shir leyom HaShabbat, to'odot la'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי אסור ועלי נבל, עלי היום בכינור, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון. תשמחני אדוני בפועלך, ומעשה ידך רנן, מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, לעולם כמחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון. Tzadikar v'hamar yifrat keret Lebanon yizkach betulim bebeit Adonai v'chashrot Eloheinu yafridu oyenu b'selah B'shenim v'ranim yehiyu le'hagid ki yashar Adonai tzuri tzuri ve'lo avlakavlo. Amen. Ashrei, page 136. Ashrei Oshrei Kacha Odi Halalu Kasala. Ilala David Aromen Kalai Hamela Barakashin Kalei Olam Va'ed. Yadol Adonai Kumelam Le'od Gili Gulato Ein Chaker. Ahadar Kavod Lodacha B'divrei Niflotacha Asika. Zacharatu Payabiu B'tzikat Chayiranenu. O Adonai Lakol Rachamav Al Kol Ma'asam. Yevod Malchut Chayil Meru Gehurat Chayil Aberu. Malchut Kamalchut Kol Amim. Umemshal Lecha B'Kol Dor V'Dor. Yehine Kol Elecha Yisaberu. V'Tanoten Lahem Et Ochlam B'Ito. Tzadik Adonai B'Chol Drakav V'Chasid B'Chol Ma'asav. V'Tzon Yarei Avia Haseh V'Et Shabbatam Yishma Yoshkiem. Yilat Adonai V'Rekli V'Yorek Kol B'Sar Shem Kol Sholem V'Aram Va'ed. V'Anachnu Nevarech Yah Ne'etam Yad Olam. Alleluia.
When I left,
Hallelujah. 141. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 and the cause show. Hallelujah, he has known. Hallelujah, Kurona. Hallelujah, hero. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
I'll say,
Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen.
everyone.
Page 145. Nishmat kol hai, tebarak et shimcha Adonai Elokeinu, tebarak kol basar, tebarak remember the Shacham Elokeinu tamid, olam ha'olam ha'el. Umibaladecha ein lanu melech oel Moshiach kodeh u'matzil, u'pernes u'rachem b'chol eitzara v'tzupah, ein lanu melech ele'ata. In the home. Half of 146. From Egypt you redeemed us out of our God, from the house of bondage you liberated us. Look at it, we should be like Who compares to you, great, mighty, awe-inspiring, transcendent God, to whom heaven and earth belong? We will praise and claim and honor you and bless your sacred name, fulfilling David's words. Let my soul bless Adonai, and every fiber of my being praise God's sacred name. God, in the fullness of your power, raising your voice to the words and the your sovereign and world out high. Shochenan Marov Nekadosh Shemon Ravavon Amcha Yisrael Hekin Chobrai V'Tzimut Never Yeshua Shimcha Ve'ad Malkeinu Bracha V'Hagod Me'Haviyad Olam Baruch Atah Adonai El Melech Gadol V'Yisrachot El Haod Adonai Niflaot Abocher B'Shirei Zimra Melech Elkei HaOlamim. Page 148. Yitkedah Yitkedah Shemei Rabbah Amad Rafi R'Tei Lich Malchutei V'chayeh Kol Yomei V'chayeh L'chol Beit Yisrael U'bizman Karev V'yemru Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Lo Me'almaya Kurma Gidnaset, Vitadar, Vitala, Vitala, Shemedi Shaber, Ritu, Leila Mikobir Kata, Bishirata, Uzbekata, Nefemata, Amiram Yaman, Biamaru, Amen. Rise and table for our food. Page 149. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Barakhu et Adonai, Amivorah. Baruch Adonai, Amivorah, Amivorah, Le'olam va'ed. Amivorah, Amivorah, Le'olam va'ed. Please be seated. 150. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer or borei choshech osei shalom, uberei et hakol. Kindness you illumine the earth and all who dwell on it, and in your goodness day after day, you renew creation. Sovereign, you alone rule on high from the very beginning, praised, glorified, and exalted since earliest time. 151. El Adon Akomasim, Baruch Torah Befiko Neshama, Adon Yuel, Male Olam, Dan V'Guna Hasof B'Moto, Amikal, Arayot HaKodesh, Nehedar V'Kavod, Merkabah, Zechut V'Mishor, Lifnei Iso, Hasad V'Rachmim, Lifnei Kevodo, Tovim L'Orav, Shabara Eloheinu, Yitzoram B'Da'at, Kavina V'Vashem, Koach V'Korah, Natan B'Henem, Tiyot Mashim, Be'Kerem Tevel, B'Leim Ziv, U'Mefikim Noga, Na'ezimam B'Chol HaOlam, Shvetim B'Tzeitam, V'Sasim B'Voam, Osim B'Eimam, V'Tzol Konam, Erev Kavod, Nodim Shlohot, Zohar Lagarina, V'Zecher Machuko, Kara V'Shemesh, V'Yizrach Or, Ra'ah V'Hikin, Zoran Almana, Shebach Nodim Lo, Kol Tzevam Marom, Yiferet U'Gedulah, Zrabim Ofanim, B'Chayot HaKodesh. Page 153. Before Surah Malkeinu B'Goleinu Borei Kedoshim. B'Lam Giborim. Hashem Melech HaGadol Adonai HaKadoshu. B'Kolam V'Kavlim Lahem O'Rochot Shamayim Zeh V'Zeh 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 like pieces from a Nafarua, the Safari back to the shop, Lam Catalonia, the Omrim Beira. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sebaot, Elohim Haaretz Kivod. Opening Bechayot HaKodesh, V'Hamish Kapim Ve'Omrim, Baruch Kavod Adonai, Mihim Tomo, Ve'Baruch Mimod Yitenu L'Machai V'Tayim. God's goodness, the work of creation is renewed each day. As the psalmist declared, thank the creator of the great lights, for God's love is everlasting. For Chadash Shalzion Hayim, for Chadash Shalzion Hayim, V'nizkach Kulanu Meira Le'oro, Baruch Atah Adonai, Yoser HaMe'oro. 154. You have loved us deeply, Adonai our God, and showered us with boundless compassion. Avinu Malkeinu, for the sake of our ancestors who trusted in you, to whom you taught the laws of life, so may you be gracious to us and instruct us. And create our compassion for us, open our hearts so we may understand with love, discern, hear, and study, observe, perform, and fulfill all the teachings of your Torah with love. V'Havienu l'shalom, Ve'arakan fod haaretz, Ve'arakan fod haaretz, V'toliteinu, V'toliteinu, V'toliteinu komamiyu, komamiyu, le'artzeinu, komamiyu, le'artzeinu. Yehovah Yeshua Atah, Uvanu B'Harta Mikolam Velashon. Yehovah Yeshua Atah, Uvanu B'Harta Mikolam Velashon. Ve'keratanu V'shimcha Agadol Selave'emet. Baruch Adonai, Adonai Israel b'Yahweh. 155. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol nafshecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol mevotecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ela Asher Anochi Mitzavacha Hayom Al Bavecha V'Shivatam L'Vanecha V'Divarta Bam V'Shivtecha B'Veitecha Uv'Lechtecha B'Derech U'Shoftecha U'Kunecha U'Tzertam L'Od Al Yadecha V'Hayu L'Todachot B'Einecha Uv'Lechtecha Al Mezuzot B'Techa U'B'Yisharecha.
Place that right there. Ask me.
מצאו להם ציציות וביביהם היה לכם ציריכם אותו אולי ותקיפתם ולא תעתו אחריהם אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם הכל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת אלוהי עולמותינו תברכו ודור קיים ושמו קיים וצלחון נמות ולבד קיים אמת שעתהו אדוני אלוהינו ולא אבותינו ואימותינו מותינו מלך אבותינו ומותינו ולנו ואל אבותינו ואימותינו וצפנו ושמותינו ונשאנו מעולם שמך אין אלוהים זולתך עזרת אבותינו ואימותינו אתה ומאיר Adonai, you redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. V'nelamo b'eit shavah melach, lo le'el yom baruchu mevorach, Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael, l'chanu shira b'simcha rabba, v'amru kulam. Page 158. Our homage is to God on high, who is ever praised. Moses and Miriam and the people of Israel joyfully sang this song to you. Sur Yisrael, Umaga Ezrat Yisrael, Uvdechu Lecha Yehuda Yisrael, Go Aleinu Adonai Sabaoth Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Adonai, Gal Yisrael. We rise as people, page 159. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilateka Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ahel HaGadol Gibor Banorah Mel Elyon Kol Melcha Sadim Todim Vekonei Hakol V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imachot Umimi Goel V'nei B'neihem V'man Shemo V'yavad V'kozer V'shilmayim Baruch atah Adonai Magid Abraham V'moked Sarah Atagi Borleolam Adonai Mechayim Itim Et Harav L'Hoshia V'shibaruch U'morid HaGashem Mechokel Chaim B'chesed Mechayim Itim B'rachamim Tovech Noflim Berofet Olim U'matir Asurim U'mechayim Emunato V'shenei Afar Michamocha Bal Gemurot U'midom Elad Belach Memid U'mechayeh U'matzmiat Yeshua Amanat Halachayot Meitim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh HaMeitim 161 Nekadesh et Shemcha ba'olam Keshem shemakdishim oto b'shnei marom Kakatu ayat v'yata V'kara ze'el ze'eh v'amar Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Tzebaot Meloch al haaretz Kevodo Az v'korash gadol adir v'chazak mashmi'im ko Minasim l'matz rafim Umotam baruch yomeru Baruch emod Adonai Mimkomo Mimkom chamokenu tefiyah v'timloch aleinu Imechakim anachnu lach Matai timloch b'tzion v'karo be'er le'olam ba'ed tishkon Tikadav v'tikadash v'lok Yerushalayim ircha V'dor v'dor u'lenetzach netzachim Ve'inen terana malchutecha kadavar ha'mor b'shiren yuzecha Al yedei David Mashiach tzidkecha Yamloch Adonai le'olam El ha'gitzion Le'dor v'dor Alleluia Le'dor v'dor le'gibor lecha U'lenetzach netzachim kedushat chanakdish V'shivchecha le'ripinu lo yavush le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. The Shamru on the bottom of page 162. We'll sing together and then we'll continue on our own through 165.
La
I will tell you. Sorry, Mom, that you lost your honey.
Lives.
Maybe so. It was fun.
Page 166. If I took my hotel,
That is why they cannot highlight it. So it's saying, Rabbi Hosea, the son of Hanani, had a divine word came to each person in accordance with their individual's own. Next, that which
was starting a different time.
huh?
Starting
Starting at different one?
time.
Huh?
So before the Torah service, the question. Do we have somebody looking ahead? Who can lift a really heavy scroll with all the weight on the left side? Okay. I was planning to roll the small one, and I forgot to roll the small one, so we're going to use the large one.
It's heavy.
It's heavy, and it is as unbalanced as it can possibly be. So, okay. There's another end. Yeah, it can be equally unbalanced on the other side. Okay. Service for the reading for the Torah, start page 167. Yitkedash Shemei Rabbah, V'yamad Rasher Tekem Litmachut He, V'chayi Nekol V'yamechon, V'chayi L'chol Beit Yisrael, V'ayol B'zman Kariv V'yimru, Amen. V'hei Shmei Rabbah Nevorah, V'yol Amo Me'al Maya, Yisparah. Rak Shabbat, V'kar Kumam Mitnaseh, V'davi D'Levi D'Al Shmei D'Kudsha, V'richu, V'elami Kol Birchat HaV'Jurata, V'chata V'nechamata, V'yom Yoma V'yimru, Amen. V'kabal Soron L'Gol, V'yisro V'dav L'Gol, V'yishmaya V'yimru, Amen. V'shalom Rav V'yishmaya, V'chayim L'Gol Yisrael, V'yimru, Amen. Osei Shalom Yivrumav, Uyasei Shalom, Alein V'yachol Yisrael V'yimru, Amen. Ein kamocha v'alokim Adonai, v'nematzah, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshalecha b'chol dor v'ador. Adonai Melech, Adonai Malach, Adonai Eloh Le'olam Va'ed, Adonai Oseh Mo'ikim, Adonai Yivarech, Echado V'Shalom, Avarachamim, Eiti Rav Ka'et Sion, Tivnei Chomot Yerushalayim, Tivnei Chomot Yerushalayim, Tivechad Le'abat Mahadu, Melech Oram V'Nisam, Adon Olamim. You rise that scroll, and somebody want to carry the scroll? Okay. Vayivitzu Aharon, Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, V'yafutzu Oivecha, V'yanusu B'sanecha, V'panecha, Ki Mitzion, Tetzei Torah, Ki Mitzion, Tetzei Torah, Udamar Adonai, Be'Yerushalayim, Baruch Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol, Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Ulanai, Rovama, Shemo Yachad. Echad Adonai, Hagenu, Haratifenu, Haratiferet, Ve'anetzach, Ve'achod. Yifol Hashamayim u'va'aretz, Yifol Hashamayim u'va'aretz. Adonai Shama Laka, Kanit Na'aseh B'chol Rosh. From the moon, from the moon, Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtachavu, Le'adon Ra'am Kadosh. From the moon, Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtachavu, Le'har Kodesh. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Al Shoshan Devarim, Al Shoshan Devarim, Al Shoshan Devarim, Olam Mo'ed, Al Shoshan Devarim. So we, having just celebrated Simchat Torah on Monday night, we are back at the beginning. And I'm going to read from the beginning. We're going to talk about the passage a little bit later. For discussion, we're going to look at Cain and Abel. But for reading, we're going to start with the start. And you would think, in the book, it would be page 1, right? But there's actually a kind of old Jewish tradition. Jewish books don't start on page 1. There is no page 1. Like in Talmud, a page is the full open page. So this would be page 1, A and B, Aleph and Bet. And the Talmud starts on Bet. It doesn't start on Aleph. There's a blank page, and then the first folio is 1B instead of 1A. So this kind of works the same way. At the beginning, we're going to start on page 3, because of course there are all those Roman numeral pages that come before the official page 1. I like to think that this custom of not starting on page 1 or 1A, is just one way that our tradition suggests that really there aren't firm beginnings and endings, which would imply a line, right? You start here, you end there. But really the better metaphor for the way we think of time, the way our cycle works is circle, right? And, in a circle, every place can be the beginning and every place can be the end. And, we finish on Simchat and we immediately go back and start again. So in a way, there is no 1A because beginnings are everywhere all the time. But this is chapter 1, verse 1. And you can follow along starting on page 3, the first portion of Torah. Anybody want to have the first Aliyah? First Aliyah, the first, 1-1? Come on up. Amud. Easy to find.
Is it big?
The first letter, that is big.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorah Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam. Asher Bakar Banu Mikol Ha'amim. V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Va'aretz hayta tohu va'bohu v'choshech al pnei tehom. V'ruach Elohim merachava al pnei hamayim. Vayomer Elohim yidur vayior. Vayar Elohim et haor pito. V'avdel Elohim bein haor u'bein hachoshech. V'yikra Elohim la'or yom v'choshech hara layla. V'yer vayiboker yom et ha'ad. Vayomer Elohim Yehi rakia b'toch hamayim Vayehi mavdil bein mayim lamayim Vayas Elohim et harakia Vayavdel bein hamayim Asher mitachav harakia Bein hamayim asher me'al harakia Vayifim Vayikra Elohim harakia shamayim Vayer vayiboker Yom Sheni.
Baruch Adonai, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Natan Lanu Torah Kemet, V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu, Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. So Sandy, since you asked if it was big, we'll let it come up and then you can see it. Like, the Missouri thing. Show me. Hamod. Shira Bracha. And so we read the first 2 days, which involved the creation of light, the creation of the firmament that divides upper and lower waters. Day 2, which we just ended with, is the only day on which God does not see that it's good. After every day of the day, it says, Vayer Elohim ki tov, God saw that it was good. There's no note of that on the second day. which is Monday, right? Traditionally, Shabbat's the last day. Sunday is day 1. Monday is day 2, right? So like Monday's not so good. Monday's a rough day.
But in Israel, Monday to Sunday.
In Israel,
Don't they go to work on Sunday?
in Israel, Monday is our Tuesday, right? Because they're working Sunday. But to make up for the fact that we don't have it's good on Monday, we get 2 of them on Tuesday. So if Monday is not so good, Tuesday is doubly good. And there is actually an old Jewish tradition of getting married on Tuesday because it says twice that it's good. So over the years, I've done maybe 2 Tuesday weddings. They don't tend to work so well in America where people are coming from all over the place. And the middle of the week is not when most people get married, but I've done a couple. So we're now proceeding with Tuesday, which is we're going to get the dry land and it's doubly good.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah.
Baruch Adonai Haborach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'karbonu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torto. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Vayomer Elohim Yavu Hamayim Mitachat Hashamayim Al Makom Echad V'tireh Hayavasha V'yichein V'yikra Elohim Layavasha Eretz U'ligmei Hamayim Kara Yamim Vayar Elohim Ki Tov Vayomer Elohim Tadsheh Ha'aretz Desha Esed Mazriya Zera If Korea say free, let me know. Asher Zerobo Al Haaretz V'yichein But say, Haaretz Desha, Esed Mazriya Zera, V'nehu, V'etzu set free, Asher Zaro, V'od V'nehu, Vayar Elohim Ki Tov, Vayar Vayivoker, Yom Shlishi, Vayomer Elohim, Yehi, Me'orot Birki Hashamayim, Avdel B'nei Hayom, V'b'nei Halayla, Vayu Lo Tov No Moadim, V'yamim, V'shanim, Vayu Lo Rot Birki Hashamayim, Vayir ha'aretz vayichein, vayas Elohim, et shnei ha'morot ha'gedolim, et ha'mor ha'gadol, l'memshelet hayom, et ha'mor ha'gadol, l'memshelet halayla, v'derochavim, v'hinotam Elohim birki hashamayim, v'ha'ir al ha'aretz v'nimshol, v'yom u'alayla, v'lavdil v'in ha'ur v'v'in ha'koshef, v'yar Elohim ki tov, Vayar Vayivoker, Yom Revi'i.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tofenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
So we just read the 4th day. The 4th day has a couple of mysterious things, mystical things, hidden things. Most famously, so day 4, God creates the sun and the moon and stars. But that raises the question of what has been going on until day 4, right? Because we have day and night created on day 1. So what is the light that exists before the sun and the moon and the stars? What is the light God creates on day 1? Given that the light that we know in this world comes from that which is created on day 4. And this is the basis for the well-known Kabbalistic notion of Shvirat HaKelim, that God creates this primal light before anything else, and it's stored, and again, this is metaphorical, not literal. God stores this light in clay pots, and the pots can't hold the power of the light, and the light spreads out into the world and sparks, and the clay pots, the pieces of the pots, the shards are out there too, and our job in tikkun, in healing, is to free the sparks, to release the sparks of light through mitzvot. The other interesting thing about this is that it begins by saying God created the two great lights, giving the impression that they are two equally great lights. And then God says the greater one by day and the lesser one by night. And from this, the Kabbalists also say that originally the moon was as bright as the sun. And that eventually, in the Messianic day, the moon will again be as bright as the sun. And that is probably a kind of way of talking about the fate of the Jewish people, because we mark our months by the moon, as opposed to the Romans, under whom the rabbis were living, who marked their calendar entirely by the sun. So that the question was, God made all these promises to us. Why are they so powerful and we're so small? And they looked to this passage in this day 4 as a kind of promise of hope that eventually we will be restored and will be as great as the sun. Mishabera. So I invite anybody who has people who you are holding in your hearts at this time for healing, strength, healing of body and soul and spirit.
All for having work, we have all, I'm sure, and Ezra.
Joe Sneaker, Don Sneaker.
Vicky Shear and David Martinez. Whatever this is.
Shara and Harry.
So for these and for all who are in need of healing, 173.
Oh, one more.
Oh, yes.
Daniel
Okay, yes.
May the source of strength bless the one before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. We shall bless those in need of healing, who wash their heart, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
One more? Oh, yeah?
I think Elizabeth should get it on the high holy.
Yeah, Elizabeth, you can, and then she's gonna stay up there, 'cause she has already pre-volunteered the lift, so. So we're going to skip ahead a little bit to the last creation, which is kind of paradoxically the non-creation, right? The seventh day on which God rests. But the rabbis see this rest, it's not really just the absence of a creation, but rather it's a consciously chosen rest through which God creates Shabbat, right? So I'm going to be picking up with chapter 2, first verse. Familiar to many are the Bible Jewish. It's on page 11.
Baruch et Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayechulu Hashamayim va'aretz v'chol tziva'am. Vaychal v'yom hashvi'i melachto asher asa. Vayishkot v'yom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa. V'yavarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i v'kadesh oto. V'yivo Shabbat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah le'emet, v'chayei olam atah b'tokeinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Shaberach for all who have been called up this morning. Shaberach Avotinu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'Yimotenu Sarah v'Tarach v'Leah Yivarech HaKol Shalom Hayom L'Kvod HaMakom L'Kvod HaTorah L'Kvod HaShabbat. Kadosh Baruch Hu Yishmor L'Tam B'Kol Mishpachoteihem Yishlach Barachav V'Tzlacha B'Kol Ma'aseh Yedehem Yikol Yisrael Achehem Achiyoteihem V'Nomah Amen.
Amen.
May the Lord bless their ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Bless all who have ascended this morning to honor God, the Torah, and the Shabbat. May the blessed Holy One protect them and their families, bring blessing and success to all the works of their hands, together with our people everywhere. Let us say, Amen. Yekadav Yekadav Shemerava. Yamadi Roger Yalik Mafute. Zekaye Kol Yomeko. Ukaye Kol Yisrael. Magala Magala. Ubisman Karir. Mimaru Amen. Yeshmerava Mevorah. Leolam Ifar Vishabbat, Ifar Kumani Nase, Tadavita Halal, Shemay Good Shabaritu, Leilami Kubir Kata Vishirata, Sushata Venemata, Nami Ramyama, Mimaru, Amen. Paul, will you help dress? Will you help dress the car?
I do not, it's because, why don't you invite us to go along?
Oh, yeah. All good. Please rise. V'zot Torah asher sam Moshe Lifnei b'nei Yisrael ki Adonai b'yad Moshe המחזיקים בה בתוך המחזיקים בה בתוך המרושע. I got Yeah. You can hang out with lots. Good to see you. It is true.
Just ask Elizabeth.
Hang out here, you'll be singing and doing a lot again. A Haftarah portion, reading from the prophets, picks up on the theme of creation, and it has Isaiah offering a kind of poetic reformulation of the creation. And it's from Isaiah chapter 42, for anybody following along streaming. It's just, I'm going to read the shorter Sephardi portion, which is 42 verse 5 through 21. And if you're following along in Eitz Chaim, which here, it begins on page 36 and continues through toward the bottom of page 32. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nbiim tovim, v'ratzah b'divrei emet na'amarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, abocher b'torah u'shelto, b'Yisrael amo, u'b'nbiei ha'emet v'tzedek. Omar ha'el Adonai, Borei hashamayim v'notehem, Rokar tzetzetzaeha noten neshama aleha, Beruach l'holchim ba'a, Ani Adonai, V'raticha b'tzedek v'chazek b'yadecha, V'tzorecha v'tencha l'fri itam l'or goyim. V'yifcha einai bivrot, V'tzi mimasker asir libeit ela yoshvei choshech. Ani Adonai hu shemi yucheloti, Acher lo etein, V'tehilati maftirim. Harishonot hinei ba'alu, v'chadashot ani magid, v'terem itzmachna ashmiach etchem. Shiru lanai shir chadash, v'hilato mifitzei haaretz, yordei ha'am u'melo, im v'yoshveihem. Yisu midbar v'harav, hatzerim v'shiv kedar, Yaronu Yoshvei Sela Merosh Harim Yitzvachu Yasimu Ladonai Kevod U'tehilato Ba'im Yagidu Adonai Kevibur Yetzei V'Yish Milchamot Yair Inahah Yariach Yitzari Yatzriach Avoilav Yitabar Echesheti Meolam Acharish Et Apahat Iridah Et Aheshon Ve'esh Adonam Yachad Archiv Harim Ugevaot Bechol Esman Ovish Besamti Naharod Le'im V'Hadamim Ovish Olachti Ivrim V'derech Lo Yadau V'netivot Lo Yadu Adricheim Asim Machshtach Lifnehem Laor Umashkim Lemishur Ela Hadevarim Hasitim V'lo Azavim Nasogu Achor Yoshvei Boshet Havotim V'Hasel Omrim L'Masecha Atem Eloheinu Acherashim Shema'u V'Ha'ivrim Ibitu Lir'ot Mi'iver Ki Imavdi V'Cheresh V'Malachi Eshalach Mi'iver Im Shulam Ve'iver Ke'eved Adonai Rabot V'lo Tishmor Hakoach Oznaim Lo Yishama Adonai Chafetz L'ma'an Tzito Yagdil Torah Meyadir Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Olam Tzorcho Amin Tzadik V'chol Adorot Ha'el Haneman Omer Yosef Me'avir Hayim Shekol Torah V'Nedvat Tzedek Neman Atahu Adonai Eloheinu V'Neman Yidavarech V'Davar Echad Mitvarech Ha'achur Lo Yeshuv Reicham Ki Melech Neman V'Rachaman Atah Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el Haneman B'chol Torah
Amen.
Rachim Al Tzion Ki Hi Beit Chayinu Alavat Nefesh Kushia B'Meira B'Yameinu Baruch atah Adonai V'Sameach Tzion V'Vanecha
Amen.
Samkeinu Adonai Eloheinu V'Layadu V'Yavdecha Malchut Beit HaMikdash V'Techa B'Meira Yavo V'Yagel V'Meinu Al Kisod Lo Yeshev Zar V'Chau V'Acherim Et Kevodo Yivsham Kachar Mishvat Lo Shelo Yirved Niro Le'olam Va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Magen David
Amen.
Ala Torah V'Avodah V'Nevi'im V'Yom HaShabbat Hazeh Shenatata Lanu Adonai Eloheinu V'Kedusha V'Necha Lechavod U'Letifaret Ala Kol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu Modim Lach U'Mevarchim Otach Yitbarach Shimcha B'Fi Kol Chai Hamid Le'olam Va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Prayer for the announcing of the new month. You rise, and we continue on page 180. We are announcing the month that is almost every rabbi I know's favorite Jewish month. It is the only month of the entire Jewish year that has no holidays. It's called Mar Cheshvan. And Mar means bitter, and Cheshvan, says the Midrash, is a little sad because it doesn't have any holidays. But for the rabbis, it's like a Shabat month, you know, all those holidays. Page 180. יהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהינו אלוקינו ואמותינו, שתחדש עלינו את החודש הבא, לטובה ולברכה. May it be your will, Adonai, our God, God of our ancestors, grant that this month brings us goodness and blessing and bestow on us a long life, a life that is peaceful, a life that is good, a life that is blessed with proper sustenance, a life with physical vitality, a life conscious of heaven's demands and wary of sin, a life free of shame and reproach, a life of abundance and honor, a life of love of Torah, conscious of heaven's demands, a life in which the worthy desires of our hearts are fulfilled. Amen. Selah. Ishasa nisim lavotenu v'imotenu v'dalot hamedut l'cherut yigalot anu b'karov v'piznichenu mervatam kol haaretz haverim kol Yisrael v'nomar Amen. Rosh Chodesh Mar Cheshvan Yeh v'yom shlishi haba alenu v'al kol Yisrael l'tova. New month of Mar Cheshvan will begin on Tuesday. May it hold blessing for us and for all of the people of Israel. Yechad Shehu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Aleinu V'Yakol Hamo B'Yisrael. May the Holy One bless us this month for the entire people of the house of Israel. L'chaim u'l'shalom, with life and with peace, l'sason u'l'simcha, with joy and with gladness, l'shua u'l'chama v'nomar Amen. With deliverance and consolation, and let us say Amen. Returning the Torah to the Ark, page 183. Hallelujah, Shema Adonai, Kiniskad, Shemo Levado, Odo al Eretz v'shamayim, Vayaren Keren Le'ano, V'yilah L'kol Yisrael, B'nei Yisrael Adoro, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Adonai B'nei Adonai Kavodos, Adonai Yerushalayim, Yishtachavu Adonai HaKadosh, Kol Adonai L'Shurim Adonai Almighty, Kol Adonai V'Hakol, Kol Adonai V'Hadar, Kol Adonai Shomer HaRazim, Yishamer Adonai Akartem Ayarkidem Kumayot Kol Adonai Tzatabodesh, Kol Adonai Yakel Midbar, Yakel Adonai Midbar Kadesh, Kol Adonai Yakel Adonai Shekasok Yodeh Alon Kulo Omer Kavod, Adonai Lamabu Yashav Yeshiv Adonai Melech Leolam, Adonai Oseh Aloyim, Adonai Yevarech et Amo Bashalom. Go Yoma, Yilakach Tov Natati Lachem, Torati Amazoru. Etzayim, V'nachazikim ba, V'tomecheha, V'ushar, V'racheha, Yarkei Goam, V'totivoteha, Shalom, Ashivenu Adonai, Elecha v'nashua, Kadesh, Kadesh Yameinu, Kadesh Yameinu, Seated. so as promised, we're gonna skip ahead a little bit and look at the
You're a teacher. I know. He's so
I noticed in the first few verses that you read, God is always Elohim. And then further on in the Parsha, you get the Yud Hey Vav.
Yeah, God is Elohim pretty much through the creation story, but then you get to the Shabbat part, and we get Yud Hey Vav Hey. And Carol Schulweis has a really interesting and, for me at least, powerful explanation. For Schulweis, Elohim is the creating God that is transcendent and that is the way of the world, essentially. So, he raises this in a piece he writes after he was in LA for most of his career. One of the great 20th century rabbis of Yad Shalom in Los Angeles. And after an earthquake in Los Angeles, people were asking him, where was God? How could this happen? And Schulweis says Elohim is the God of the earthquake, right? This is the way the world works. And it's Adonai is the God that we see in the works of, in the work of the people caring for one another, right? So Adonai is the God with whom we are in relationship with. Okay? Elohim is the God that is kind of the reality principle of the world. That's That's true. Indeed. So we could talk all night with that. But I want to get a little bit that became bigger. Okay, it's a short story. I'll read the biblical passage. The human Adam knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain, whose name in Hebrew is Cain, which comes from what follows, saying, I have gained a person with the help of the Holy One. So Cain means to acquire. That's the I have gained. And parenthetically, interesting that there's no mention of her husband, right? I gained or created a human being with the help of God. Adam seems like a minor partner in that. She then bore his brother Abel, whose name is also significant because his name kind of portends his fate. Abel is nothing. It's a grasping after wind. It's the same word that begins Ecclesiastes, vanity of vanities. Havel Havelim. So Havel is one who is evanescent, who doesn't last. Okay, so again, there's a lot of foreshadowing for me. Abel became a keeper of sheep, and Cain became a tiller of the soil. So right away, the first two children born, you've got like the farmer and the rancher, right? And the farmer and the rancher don't get along. In the course of time, Cain brought an offering to God, the fruit of the soil, and Abel, for his part, brought the choicest of the firstlings of his flock. God paid heed to Abel and his offering, but to Cain and his offering, God paid no heed. We're not going to talk about this part of the story. The the question of why does God like Abel's offering and not Cain's? Most of the commentary focuses on this phrase, the choicest of the first of his flock, and the premise is, Abel's bringing the best, whereas Cain is not necessarily bringing the best of his heart. And that's one possibility. But it's ambiguous. And Cain, who was, after all, the guy who had the idea of this, right? Cain's the older. Cain's the one who brings the sacrifice. So Cain's not very happy when, he had this idea and God rejects it, and then God's good with his brothers. Cain was much distressed in his face fell. God said to Cain, why are you distressed? And why is your face fallen? This is probably a rhetorical question, right? God ought to know why he's distressed. God's the source of the distress. And then God says, surely if you do right, there is uplift. But if you do not do right, sin crouches at the door, its urges toward you, yet you can be its master. This is unclear exactly what this metaphor is about. Again, lots and lots of commentary, but it's fairly enigmatic. Sin crouches at your door, its urges toward you can be its master. Cain said to his brother Abel, ... In the text, that's not my ... That's Genesis. It does. It says, Cain said to his brother Abel, and when they were in the field, Cain set upon his brother Abel and killed him. In other words, it doesn't tell us what Cain said to his brother Abel. It just says Cain said to Abel, and then we have the murder, right? But
They didn't have the 10 Commandments at this point. I think the only commandment they had was not to eat from the fruit of the tree of knowledge. So how would they even know what sin?
it's a good question.
What was the question?
So the question was, we don't have the 10 Commandments yet. We don't even have the Noahide laws yet. So we get don't murder after Noah. But we don't even have that yet. So the question is, how does Cain, God calls him sin crouches at your door. And the question is, how does Cain know what sin is, right? We haven't been told, other than don't eat from the fruit, and that one's no longer applicable because they're now banished from the garden anyway. That was for the parents. So what does this even mean? Oh.
I always contemplated this for a long time. I know there's no 10 Commandments, but when Cain killed Abel over word, or what the words were, or whatever.
We're going to talk about them.
Did Cain know that the motivation for crime, did he know that it was a crime? And once there was a crime, it's as mysterious as the solution. So Adam and Eve, what were their role? And how did God console mother and father? Brother killed your brother. Can you shed some light on that?
Oh, you're in good company. I mean, this is a crazy thing. Like, really, the first brothers, the story of humanity begins with a murder, right? I mean, it's a powerful and pretty dark opening chapter of human history. And yes, you wonder, where are Adam and Eve during this, how does God console them? I think the way God consoles them is God gives them another child, Seth.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the only, that's the consolation. I want to come back, but take a couple comments in a moment. So I want to re-emphasize the question you raised that I think that also Linda raised, which is, did Cain do anything wrong? Did he know he was doing something wrong when he hadn't been commanded, don't murder? Okay, yes.
Have you talked about the book of Enoch and the story of Cain and Abel as told in Enoch?
I haven't. You want to share something? Do you have something to share us?
Well, the version is quite a little bit different in that Cain had the flocks, or
Fine.
Cain had the crops, and Abel had the sheep, and there was a huge drought, and there was not enough water to save the farm and the herds. The water saved one or the other, but not both.
Okay.
Right? And so when Cain and Abel start arguing about who would get the water to save the herd, or who would get the water to save the crop, and they got in a fit of rage, Cain picked up a rock and killed his brother, and then realized he's done, and stayed by the body of his brother and mourned.
Which is very different because in the Genesis story, Cain doesn't really take responsibility. Right, God, what have you done? And his rhetorical answer is, am I my brother's keeper? Right?
Yeah.
With the presumed answer in his head being, no, I'm not responsible for him. But
eventually they decided they didn't know what to do. Because, like you said, there was no commandments, there was no law saying what to do. And so what they did was they banished Cain.
right. So okay.
And so banishment was the punishment for murder.
Right. I like it. It's a very Idaho reading, the war was over water rights, I mean,
That's legal.
people, there was pretty horrendous fights over many, many years over water rights. Annette, what do you think?
I just thought this, again, this is an English translation from the Aramaic
Hebrew.
Hebrew. Or
It's not Aramaic, this one's established.
okay, but at any rate, it wasn't clear where Cain came from. Cain come from Adam, and Cain come from God, because he says, so if Cain came from God, then Cain would have the essence of goodness, or the essence of, or maybe God's not there, honestly. But some kind of knowledge that killing is we have an instinctive that killing is wrong.
Right.
Unless God, God has death and killing all over, so any king may not have. And I'm just trying to address that if Cain came from God, then what's his essence? And what do we know?
So I have not seen any commentary that reads created with God as literally meaning like, I don't know, like virgin birth, I mean, the general understanding is Adam is the father. I'm with you in that I think the story assumes that Cain knows he's doing something wrong. Even though they don't have the 10 Commandments, they don't have the Noahide laws. I mean, I think the premise is that there are certain universal human ethics that we just know. Certain things, I mean, if it was not commanded, like, nobody would think we shouldn't eat a cheeseburger, right? Like that, no one's gonna come up with that. No one's gonna, there are certain things, I mean, the holidays, there are mitzvot that, like, they are not like universal human values, right? Nobody's going to get to that. You only get that because God in the Torah commands. But there are also things that everybody does get, and not killing is one of them. And even if you don't know exactly what killing means, because nobody's died yet, right? And the reason I think to think that is because before he kills, God gives him this warning. You know, God says, like, don't do what your urge is urging you to do, right? That's the message God gives him. Sin crouches at the door, its urges toward you, yet you can be its master. Like, I think it's an enigmatic statement, but I think it's reasonably clear that God's saying to Cain, like, okay, I get that you have this, you're really angry, and you have this urge to do something terrible. And don't follow your urge. And Cain follows the urge, right? So I don't think Cain gets off the hook for, oh, you know, we haven't been told don't kill you. Like I think everything in the story, I mean, he's also punished, right? I mean, if he hadn't done anything wrong, he wouldn't be punished. And not only is he punished, I mean, that's not in this passage here that follows, but Cain recognizes that it's punishment. He doesn't say, God, you know, why are you banishing me? What is this about? I mean, Cain says, when God punishes him, Cain says, this punishment is too much for me to bear. And God mitigates the punishment. God still punishes him, but he puts the mark of Cain on him so that nobody kills him when he's wandering around. You know, because Cain's worry is, I'm going to be wandering around and everybody's going to think, oh, there's that murderer, and they're going to kill him. So everything in the story indicates Cain knows he's done something wrong. Quick.
Rabbi, you see that the urge to be equated with an impulse, that you have a strong impulse to commit.
An impulse to commit violence against each other. Yes, I think that's the urge. And, you know, so I'm going to come back to it in a minute. I want to do the next, I want to flip to the back, because I want to just touch really briefly on what did they fight with. So we've already had one proposal of water rights.
That's true. From the book
Bukina. So this is from Bereshit Rabbah from the Midrash, where they ask, because, you know, again, this is the ... Cain spoke to his brother, ... it came to pass. So the Midrash asks, what are they fighting about? It's like the most obvious question to ask. Whenever you see a ... you want to know what's there. What's in the ellipses? They said, come, let's divide up the world. One will take the land, and one will take the movable property. Okay, so one gets the earth, and one gets all the, what are the words for this? Fixed, and I don't know. One takes the movable stuff. So the one who gets the movable property says, hey, you're standing on the ground, and that's mine. You don't get that. And the one who gets the movable property says, hey, you're wearing clothes, that's mine. Take it off. And the other one says, you know, fly, don't be on my ground, right? Because of this, Cain rose against Abel and killed him. So essentially, proposition one is they're fighting over property, right? Proposition number two. One said, the Holy Temple, which is, you know, like 2,000 years down the road, one says the temple will be built in my boundary, on my land. As it says when they were in the field, and the word field in this case, they're drawing an analogy, refers to the temple. So, okay, this is a little odd thing that they're fighting over, you know, where King Solomon was going to build the temple thousands of years later, but I think the point of the Midrash is they're fighting over prestige, over power, over position, and
the last one, Rav Huna said, answering the question of, where did all the future offspring come from when Eve is the only woman created, as described in the Torah? So the Midrash says, a twin sister was born with Abel. And one said, I will take her because I'm the firstborn. And the other said, I will take her because she was born with me. Because of this, Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. So in other words, they're fighting over a woman. And with this Midrash, essentially, I think Torah is saying, these are things that men fight about. Like, if you look at the history of the world, what do men fight about? They fight about property, they fight about honor / prestige / power, and they fight over women. Right, the whole Helen of Troy, the whole war starts over the men fighting over the women. I think it's a pretty psychologically astute midrash, in that they're looking at, they're less looking at, the premise is what did they fight over. The real object of investigation is what are the sources of conflict. And they use this story to suggest that these are the three big sources of conflict. And the water rights is really just a subset of property. Right? They're fighting over land, over property. They're fighting over honor and power, or they're fighting over a woman. Okay. Yeah, sure.
One gets favored over the other.
Yeah.
That's also a problem.
And that is the
root.
Right. No, that's the starting point of all of it. Right. That's where the jealousy comes. Right.
So God hadn't favored one over the other. This conflict wouldn't happen, and the whole human history of conflict and power struggles would not have begun.
So that's the question I want to end with, is how is God's parenting in this story? Right? Like, after all, God is credited in the beginning of the story as being kind of a parental role, right? I created a child with God. So like, okay, God, you now are kind of signed up for part of the parenting deal in this family. And maybe we can forgive Adam and Eve for not being the greatest parents. What do they know from parenting? What does anybody know from parenting until they have a kid? But they don't even have parents to draw on, right? They have nothing. But God's parenting is interesting here. First of all, yes, I'll take yours and not yours. If you have two children and each does an art project, and you say, I'm going to hang yours on the refrigerator, but I'm throwing yours in the trash. If you don't expect that to create problems in your family, you're pretty foolish, right? Just common sense. So God's favoritism is problematic. Even if Cain brings the first, if Abel brings the first, God could have said, this is beautiful, Cain, I'll take yours. They could have handled that. It's hard to see it being handled worse in a way. And it sets into motion, of course, the rest of Genesis, which is all about favoritism, right? For the rest of the whole book, it's conflict born of favoritism. Isaac and Ishmael, Jacob and Esau, Joseph and the brothers, Rachel and Leah. The whole book is nothing but sibling rivalry and conflict prompted by favoritism by the parents. So, what we learned from but what they learn from God here is not so good. Paul, yeah.
Yeah, but I know the God of Israel has the keys to eternal life, and who else can I turn to? But the question goes back to the beginning on Adam and Eve. In your opinion, did you see that this was coming, that Cain and Abel were going to fight over a woman and water rights, or whatever? Did God see this coming? In your opinion?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess in my opinion, maybe not necessarily. But my opinion is that God, like a parent, grows in the new. That God grows. You know, that God's a new parent here and makes some mistakes, and God's got some learning, as it were. I mean, this is again metaphorical, but that God has some growing to do. And and just my last thing is that God does give a warning, right? God gives Cain this warning. If you do right, don't follow your urge, basically, God says. Your urge is leading you astray. Don't follow your urge. And the problem, by me, with God's warning is God doesn't give him any tools. Like, the warning is not helpful. Like, if I just said to my kid, again, if one of my kids is furious at the other and has got a big rock and ready to whack the other one, we never got to that, but we had some pretty bad fights amongst my kids. And if I saw one coming and I just said, don't hit your sister, I know you want to, but don't, I've kind of failed. I need to say, take a time out, go for a walk, listen to some music. There are things, I need to give them tools. I can't just say don't, right? God's failure to me vis-a-vis Cain is God points out the problem, but he doesn't give him any tools to cope with. And without tools, he can't. It's hard to overcome your urges. The last text I had, which is the one line from Pirkei Avot, who is mighty? The answer is those who can overcome their urges, because most people can't much of the time. They're newbies in the world. So, last thoughts, comments. That's my take on this story.
I wonder if people that necessarily have the experience how people don't know and how to change that or how to come.
So, yes, and I would say that there is nothing in Torah, or really in most of rabbinics, that says that God is all-knowing. That God is all-knowing, omniscient. There is in rabbinics, that's not true. All is foreseen, and free will is given. I don't think the God of Torah is all-knowing. The God of the philosophers, by the time you get to medieval philosophy and Maimonides, God is definitely all-powerful and all-knowing. But I don't think that God in the Torah is all-knowing. That's me. I mean, you can argue, but Torah never makes the claim that God is all-knowing. And when God reveals God's self to Moses, Adonai, who we read of God, you are merciful, showing kindness to the thousands of generations. God reveals God's attributes to Moses, and all-knowing is not among them. God doesn't say, Adonai, who knows everything.
There's different, a dynamic universe and a static universe. The universe is static, it's like a painting. And God will know the future because every choice you will ever make has already been decided and is in that painting. And it's a static, it's solid, it doesn't move. In that universe, God will know it. But in a dynamic universe, in an ever-changing universe, where you have free will to choose between good and evil, you haven't made that choice yet.
Right. And what that choice does is that it opens 1,000 different choices depending on which choice I make, right? So, okay, this is a great theological question. And, you know, Jewish tradition goes all kinds of ways with it. And again, you know, later there is a lot about God being all-knowing, but I will come back to, I don't think Torah makes that claim. And, you know, anyway, doesn't mean God's not all-knowing, but the Torah doesn't argue that God is. Rise as able for Elena Beach 205. Elena Shabbat Ladon Hakol Ladei Keduma Yotzer Breishi Shelo Asan Kudei Haratzo Shelo Samanu Mishpachot Adama Shelo Sam Tokenu Kadam Vegora Leinu Kechohalonam Vanachnu Korim Umishtachavim Uvodim Lifnei Malach Malchei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehunot Hashamayim B'Yosef Haaretz U'Moshe V'Karov Hashamayim Mimachal U'Shtina Tuzo U'Shtina Tuzo V'Gokem Meromim Hu Eloheinu Einot Evan Malkeinu Efesulato Hakatu B'Torato Yedata Yom V'Shevota Elavatecha Ki Adonai Hu HaElohim B'Shamayim Mimal V'Al Haaretz Mitlachah V'nemar V'haya Adonai V'melech al kol haaretz V'yom ha'u Yeh Adonai echad U'shemo We recall now those of our congregation, family, friends, those who have died in this season in years past, those who have died in recent weeks, all those we hold close in our heart. I invite anyone who has someone who you are keeping in prayers for Taj, who would like to speak names.
St. Thomas and Jude Trout.
Okay.
The Ekonam Bracha, may their memories for blessing, like the words and all those customs it is to rise for Taj to be yourself. Yitidal, Yitidash, Shemera, Yalma, Yivrak Rite, Yalvif Malkute, B'chayefon, B'yomefon, B'chayeh, B'chol Beit Yisrael, Adolav, Bizman Kari, Yivru, Amen. Yehesh me Rama, Barak, Le'alon, Le'on Maya, Yebarak, Yishtabak, Yishtabak, Yishtamad, Yisnaseh, Yibadar, Yibaled, Yibalal, Shemeh, Kushta, Barichu, Le'lami, Kol Birkata, Shirata, Kuzbata, V'nechemata, Amiran, V'yallah, V'yamru, Amen. Yehesh Shalom, Rabban, Shemaya, V'chayim, Aleinu, V'yalkol Yisrael, V'yamru, Amen. Osei Shalom, V'yamrav, Tuyasei Shalom, Aleinu, V'yalkol Yisrael, V'yamru, Amen. The Lord makes peace on high, that peace is set on us and all Israel and all the world. May comfort you those who mourn. And I say, Amen. Seated. A couple of things coming up Monday night at Boise State. program on anti-Semitism, presented by the regional ADL. The director, Mary Cypress, who works out of Seattle, is going to be in town for it, and I encourage people to join us. Social Justice Committee forming meeting tomorrow at 11. How would want to tell us about your dance?
It's free and tonight, and it's a circle dance that we work.
It's a jump.
And it's a
And it's a
jump.
circle dance?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a jump.
Yeah.
And it'll start at 5:30, kind of go several times during the evening.
So that the reason we're doing that is it's a jump dance. The circle dance.
Starting at 5:30 and repeat it a few times
During the
over a few hours during the evening.
From 5:30 to 8:30, yeah.
Okay. Closing song, Adon Olam.
You want to go bring somebody in? Okay. Okay.
Page 211, and think the sun's out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, son.
Thank you, son. Absolutely. So I think it's supposed to be pretty okay this evening.
I think it's just going to be cloudy.
I think it's just going to be yeah.
Yeah, I think that's. I was surprised. Yes. I think it's going to be better.
We don't like dancing in the rain.
No, I bet you don't.
I think it's.
We'll do it, but
You will do it? Have you danced in the rain before?
Yes.
Yes.
and we'll do it, but it's not our favorite.
I bet it's not.
Years ago, and I think when Peter was still mayor, they had invited him out to the park to see this dance, and all these people were coming, and it's in the middle of the